Storming Bracket!
What's going on, everyone? So welcome to my latest video. This is of course part of a series where I focus on a specific director and rank that director's work from worst to best. I've done such directors in the past such as Spike Lee, Spike Jonze, David Lynch, David Fincher, Wes Anderson, the list goes on. You guys can check that out on the playlist down below for directors. I've done 50 plus at this point, but anyways, guys, you clicked on this video, so you know it. This time around, I'm focusing on Scott Cooper's films and ranking them from worst to best. Now, Scott Cooper has actually done 5 films, so I'll be ranking it 5 being his worst, 1 being his best, and of course, my opinion. Now, again, keep in mind, if you're new to this channel, this will not include any short films, will not include any TV shows, music videos, none of that, just specifically movies. And again, as of filming this video, which is again, November 2021, he's done 5 films. So again, all that exposition aside, guys, let's get started. So kicking things off at number 5, we have Black Mass. This movie was quite forgettable, unfortunately. Honestly, the only good thing that came out of this movie, in my opinion, was Johnny Depp's performance as Whitey Bulger. Everything else is just really, honestly, background noise. I don't remember anything about this movie. I saw this in theaters, and I remember quickly fading from memory. I remember literally having to go home and film my review because otherwise I would have forgotten about this movie. And honestly, years later, only reason why I remember this movie is because it's a Scott Cooper movie, but it's not that interesting of a movie. It could have been, but I think unfortunately the execution just really kind of left a lot to be desired. And unfortunately, we're left with just a movie that has a good Johnny Depp performance and really not much else. But yeah, that's why it's my number 5. Next up, my number 4 is Antlers. So this is Scott Cooper's latest movie, and Antlers is actually a movie that I really was looking forward to, but unfortunately it was a middle-of-the-road type movie. Similar to the movie Mama, which was also produced by Del Toro. Del Toro produced both of those movies, Mama and Antlers. Similar to that movie, the movie starts out strong, but then it quickly falls into drivel. It's one of those movies that also unfortunately loses a lot of steam as it goes in the third act, and then it quickly becomes a forgettable movie. And Antlers definitely is such, unfortunately. Again, it has a strong atmosphere early on, but again, it quickly falls into a lot of cliches, and I just lost interest by the third act. But, you know, I know people that do like Antlers, and, you know, it's not a bad movie per se. It's just a movie that I personally feel quite mixed about, which is why it's number 4. Next up, we have number 3, which is Crazy Heart. So Crazy Heart has a really good performance by Jeff Bridges. It has a story that's been done before for sure, but it does have enough to it where it's like I would definitely say it's a solid recommendation. I like the atmosphere and the tone that Scott Cooper creates, as well as, again, Jeff Bridges' performance. And Maggie Gyllenhaal also is in this, and she does a great job too. So it's definitely a movie that is more of performance-based. So, like, if you like a movie that has really good performances, I would say watch it. But if you're looking for a movie that has, like, a really good story that, you know, transcends, you know, cliches of the genre, definitely not the case. But, again, if you want good performances, this is definitely a movie for you. And that is why it's my number 3. Next up, my number 2 is Out of the Furnace. This movie I've only seen once, and I forgot to mention that similar to Out of the Furnace, all these other movies I've only seen one time. But Out of the Furnace, the one time I saw it, there was definitely some memorable scenes, especially Woody Harrelson's menacing performance. It's really good stuff. Christian Bale and Casey Affleck are also good. I mean, this movie has an all-star cast. And one of the things I like about Scott Cooper is that his movies have an ensemble cast where they all are really good. And such is the case with Out of the Furnace. I mean, all the performances are top-notch. Where the movie kind of stumbles is the pacing department. It feels a bit disjointed. And I do think that going into the third act, similar to, honestly, Antlers, it kind of loses steam. But I still have a lot of respect for Out of the Furnace because I do think that it showcases, you know, certain things that you don't normally see. One of the things I also forgot to mention about Antlers is that I like how Scott Cooper does focus on the industry, the industrial industry. I think that it's something that really isn't focused on too much. But in both Out of the Furnace and briefly in Antlers, we get to see this. And I think it's interesting, to say the least. But yeah, Out of the Furnace, solid movie. That's why it's my number 2. Next up, my number 1, my favorite Scott Cooper movie is Hostiles. This movie I saw in theaters, and I gotta say, this movie I think is rock solid. It stumbles in terms of pacing, but it is really good in terms of, again, the acting. Christian Bale's performance is stellar. Really good stuff. Excellent production design, excellent costume design, and it's a movie that also has a lot to say. It's also the movie that out of these 5, I definitely want to actually revisit because, again, all these movies I've only seen one time, and a lot of them I will say are kind of one and done. Like Black Mass Antlers and Crazy Heart, I have all only seen one time and only probably will see one time. I just have no desire to see them. But out of The Furnace and Hostiles, I both do have interest to see down the line, at least a second time. But Hostiles I did like, and I do think that it is his best movie. And yeah, that's why it's my number one. So Scott Cooper, guys, I like to talk about directors, after obviously ranking, seeing, if I like him or not. Scott Cooper's a director I do like. I think that he's rock solid. I do think that his movies kind of do stumble a bit in terms of pacing, but they are very serious tone, and I really like how they are having a serious tone. I like the ensemble cast. I like the actors that he chooses, and I really also like how he is someone that goes between genres. Like, he's a director where it's like, yeah, he has, very dreary looking cinematography, and yeah, he does have, the industrial industry kind of focused on in some of his movies. But for the most part, he is a director that does try to be a chameleon and tackles different genres. And I admire that, honestly. And I definitely see him getting more work in the future because, he definitely is talented, for sure. But, yeah, that's my ranking, guys, again, for Scott Cooper. What's your ranking for Scott Cooper's films? Let me know in the comment section down below. And as always, thank you very much for watching. For the subscription, notification bell, and I'll get you guys later.